We're ready.
We're ready.
We're ready.
We're finally ready. On Sunday evening, June 19th, 2022, Juneteenth.
IPSI will launch the national recruitment for our plan. Okay.
IPSI will launch the national recruitment of our plan for education, advocacy, and community engagement.
The Peace Initiative.
We will begin selecting 20 Black American and African men and women from across the U.S.
who will embark on a 9-month journey of discovery and will travel to Africa and to Israel.
Join us at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific,
as we are joined by some of our friends and coalition partners in the U.S., in Africa, and in Israel.
We'll have special music performances by Jodavi
and jazz pianist Randy Sandoli.
Just visit ibsi-now.org for details.
That's Sunday, June 19th.
June 19th.
June 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern.
We're ready.
Be ready.
We're ready.
Already.
We're finally ready. Welcome everyone to the Juneteenth celebration by the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, which is also our Peace Initiative plan for education, advocacy, and community engagement. We're so glad that you were able to join us. I am Dumisani Washington, the founder and CEO of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, along with Olga Mashwe Washington, who is the Speakers Bureau Chief, as well as a board member of IPSI, and then also my son Joshua Washington, who is the Executive Director. We are excited to be here with you at this moment in time. The Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel was formed back in 2013 by myself. I was just inspired that after my first trip to Israel, I was a guest pastor as part of the African American Pastors Tour to Israel with Christians United for Israel, 2012, Hanukkah 2012. Had never gone to the Holy Land before. When I went, it was an amazing time to say the least. And at the Western Wall, I was just inspired to start this organization. I started it that next year, 2013. For a year, traveled the country, went to colleges, churches, synagogues, talking about the Black-Jewish Synergy and the Africa-Israel Alliance. And then after that year, I was asked to join the staff of CUFI, which I served for almost 7 years. Had a great time and returned to the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel in May of 2021. And over this past year, of the many things that we've been working on together, we have been preparing this Peace Initiative, again, plan for education, advocacy, and community engagement, in which we will be recruiting Black American and African young men and women from across the country. I say young, 18 and up, right? Young and young at heart. From across the country, we are going to recruit a pilot of 20 Black American and African men and women, again, from across the country, who will then go through a 16-module study course, and then they will ultimately travel to Africa. It will be South Africa and Zimbabwe this December, and then next spring, June 2023, they will travel to the Holy Land. Well, after they return from their experiences, they will form TESFA centers, which is a Amharic word for hope. They will be the hub of Black Jewish Synergy in their cities across the country. And again, we are just kicking it off now. Finally, we're again excited to do it. Over these next couple of months, we'll be recruiting and vetting. And by September, the study modules will begin. And then we're looking forward to December 2022, this year, going to South Africa, Olga's homeland. Yeah. And also visiting our brothers and sisters out there in Zimbabwe as well. Olga, Joshua, tell us, what are you thinking now? What are your feelings around what's happening at this point in time for IPSI and this Peace Initiative? I'll start with Olga.
Well, I am beyond excited. I have not been in the space for as long as you have, Pastor Dumisani, but in the little time that I have been, the need for, first of all, a curriculum that is deep, that is nuanced, that has got a broad perspective, that enables a people whose legacy continues to be used as a weapon, as a tool against our Jewish brothers and sisters, and understanding of what that entails and why that's such a fallacy is exciting for me. The authenticity that IPSI is bringing to the education space in that regard, the experts that are going to be our lecturers is exciting. And then also, you mentioned it, the trip to an African land, actually more than one African land, 2 African nations, South Africa and Zimbabwe, and then Israel as well. I mean, that triangular connection is a game changer. I really am excited to not only participate in the process, but to see these young people's lives changed, transformed for them to have a better understanding as to why their legacy is so integrated with the Jewish people and why we have to be excited about the future going forward. So as you can tell, I'm really excited. I don't know how you feel, Josh.
And I'm going to throw it to Joshua. Just when you said something, Olga, you just hit me. We have board members, of course, right? And we have coalition partners, some of whom you'll meet tonight. Everyone, you'll see them greet us. And our coalition partners is so funny in Zimbabwe. When we talked about the South African Zimbabwe trip and then, of course, the Israel trip, I was speaking with one of the leaders and they said, well, I would like to go. I said, I think our board members are going to go too. I think for the 20 of the people that we recruit, there's going to be a whole nother group that comes that's going to be part of our leadership that want to be a part of this first one. It's going to be that excited. They're so excited, not just our coalition partners, to see what's going on, but they want to physically be a part of it as well. So that's what they were so excited to.
And if I may, just before Joshua jumps in, so there's a lot of organizations that are doing incredible work in the space, but there's been something missing, if I can humbly say so. And IPSI, what IPSI is bringing is a game changer, and I say that very humbly. And people need to stay in touch because we're gonna
follow
do
it. Stay tuned. We're glad that you're here. If you're not watching it live, maybe you're watching this a little bit later on in terms of the recording itself. Either way, welcome. Glad that you're here. Share it with others. You can stay tuned. You're going to hear some amazing things, and we're excited about what's going on. Joshua, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Olga. I think it's a game changer for sure. There have been so many tools that have been used as a cudgel. Black people in general, Black Americans have been used as a cudgel against Israel. Black Africans have been used as a cudgel against Israel. That this actually, it doesn't just fight with another weapon. It actually, it's like repurposing those things. We're telling the truth, and we're also at the same time, I think, getting Black Americans in touch with the continent, which is something that, I think it's almost like it's a periphery thing because the main thing is Israel, but in the meantime we get to get a deeper connection with where many of us have hailed from, many of our ancestry is from. So I think it's a very, to me it feels very organic. That's the word I think.
There was a couple of people, as a matter of fact, mentioned to me when I was sharing with them the vision. They were Black American. They said something like along the lines of knowing about the Jewish birthright, the young people who go to Israel, many Jewish people from the United States and other parts of the world for the first time. They said it's almost like an African birthright. I said, yeah, here you have, it's a lot of cross-cultural. We're aware of the fact that it's a complex thing that we're touching on now, Black American, African, and when you talk about African, it's a huge continent. Zimbabwe, South Africa, Kenya, Ghana, right? There's not the same culture. No people are a monolith, whether they're African or even within the nation. Ghanaians are not a monolith, right? Black Americans are not a monolith. But there is an overarching theme that's here. Just like in the book that I wrote, Zionism in the Black Church. And then again, shout out, I made the announcement a couple of weeks ago that we have sold about 1,600 copies of digital and hard copies of Zionism in the Black Church. If you haven't got yours, please do that. Those of you who purchased it, thank you so much. We're getting notes from people, emails from people saying what it means to them. They are from Black American communities. There are rabbis. There's people from a wide array. And they're talking about this very thing. And the reason I mention that, not just a book plug, right? But also there's an overarching theme when it comes to the Black American quote unquote experience, when it comes in terms of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, civil rights movement. There are some themes that are there. And one of those bedrock themes is this Zionism, this spiritual Zionism, the songs Go Down Moses or Joshua at the Battle of Jericho, this theme of preaching and teaching that would often parallel the Black American struggle to slavery to freedom. This same parallel of the Israelites coming out of Egypt, and we said the Harriet Tubman called Moses, right? These themes have been there for centuries, and they continue on. And we said there's some deep reason. We'll get into that as well about why. As a matter of fact, we even a little while we talked about the whole fact that the Queen of Sheba travels all the way from Sheba is one of the descendants of Cush, right? So what we would now call Northeast Africa, that whole region of Ethiopia, what we now would consider Somalia, all these other areas. She travels from there to Jerusalem to visit with Solomon, the only story like it in the Bible. And what does she do? Presents herself as a friend, brings gifts, brings tribute, because David prophesied that she would do it in Psalm 68, verse 31. And there's no other foreign nation that does that. No other nations anywhere in the scriptures comes there, comes to Jerusalem as a friend. Lots of nations came to Jerusalem, but they almost always came to try to destroy Jerusalem. Not this African nation. They come, they form this alliance, and it's a story. For those of us as Christians, we know that Jesus himself references that very story in the Gospels, that the Queen of the South came all the way to see Solomon. So we talk about this very, very deep, as Joshua, as you said, it's an organic connection. So IPSI, though it is not a religious organization, we deal with both biblical and geopolitical themes to really underscore the connection and underscore why it's so important that Black Americans and Africans not just stand in solidarity with Israel, but represent this ethos of justice in the land, whether this comes to the Middle East, or whether it's a justice throughout, right? Olga, you had an opportunity about a week ago now. It's been a whirlwind. You were in Geneva. We're going to hear a little bit more about that. You were in Geneva as a guest of UN Watch that is battling against the what we call the UN Council of Inquiry. That's a permanent council of inquiry against Israel, the only Jewish state. And so Olga was there again as a guest of UN Watch, but also as a daughter of Africa, as you're going to hear about a little bit later on, making a speech. Is a very, very powerful speech. We'll share some of that as well. So we welcome you here. Glad you're here for this celebration. We have a special music presentation for you, several of them here on tonight, but we want to show this first one with Jodavi. He's coming up now.
Says I'll be buried in my grave before you put me in those chains. You can put me in the ground. Take my life, you'll never take my soul. I will meet my Father face to face and see the new Jerusalem, and see the new Jerusalem. 3 Hebrew boys are meant to choose between a lie and what is true. Stand up tall before the King. Says you can throw us to the flames. It makes no difference what you do, 'cause we will never bow to you. Take my life, you'll never take my soul. I long ago we have resolved to serve nobody else but God, to never fall into again the evil wicked hands of a man. It seems we've lost this war, my brothers, but I will not perish by their sword. I'd rather die in a state of freedom than hand my life over to Rome. Take my life, you'll never take my soul. I will meet my Father face to face and see the new Jerusalem. See the new Jerusalem. Ooh, and worship in Jerusalem.
Amazing song by Jodavi, who is Joshua Washington, is also executive director of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. We're going to talk about some more music in a little while too. You'll also be hearing from several of our coalition partners throughout this celebration of the Peace Initiative and the Juneteenth celebration as well. And one of the chief ones is our friend and family member and coalition partner and advisory board member, the Reverend Dr. Kenneth Mashwe, who's a parliament member in South Africa. He's the head of, the founder of DAISY, and you'll hear a little bit more about that as well. But he has some special greetings, and we want to acknowledge him and thank him already in advance for all that he's already been doing and continue to do as we partner with him, Reverend Kenneth Mashwe.
Hello, everyone. My name is Reverend Kenneth Mashwe, sending greetings from Cape Town in South Africa. I, together with my dear wife and amazing children, want to congratulate IPSI as you launch the Peace Initiative. We wish we could have been with you physically to celebrate this great milestone with you, but due to the distance and my parliamentary commitments, it is unfortunately not possible. We commend you, Reverend Dumisani Washington, and your dear wife, Mama Valerie, for doing such an incredible job within a short space of time. May the Lord Almighty you serve so faithfully continue to bless you and supply all your needs according to his riches in glory, and cause this peace initiative you are launching today to grow from strength to strength and to be a blessing to many nations of the world. We love you very much, and we thank God for you. God bless you.
Hello, everybody. This is Melva Henderson from World Outreach and Bible Training Center located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It is such an honor to be able to congratulate the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel and Dumisani Washington and his team for the June 19th launch of the Peace Initiative. It is such an honor to know individuals who have picked up the mantle and the mandate to stand with the nation of Israel. I'm honored to call you friend, excited for what's ahead. Thank you for what you are doing and the Peace Initiative, June the 19th. Blessings to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Pastor Melva. Love you all. You, Pastor Skip, Pastor Tim. As a matter of fact, I will be at World Outreach Center this Saturday for what's called the Where We Go From Here event, IPSI on tour. So I will be there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Those of you in Milwaukee, shout out to you. You can click on our website, ibsi-now.org. You can go on events and you can go ahead and register. I would love to see you there. It's going to be a 12 in the afternoon event where we're going to talk about the Black Jewish Synergy. We're excited about doing it. We'll be on the road throughout the rest of the summer and other parts of the fall. So join me in Milwaukee. Looking forward to seeing you, Pastor Melva. So again, we have coalition partners across the country and in Africa, again, and in Israel. And that's part of what has been happening over this last year of us preparing for the peace initiative, not just the nuts and bolts of the initiative itself, but also the collaborating with our other coalition partners, with those who are in this space who do amazing work. Again, you're going to be hearing from some more of them as well. So here now we are here. There was a couple of people over the last several months. They've been asking us, when will this launch? Some young people. Shout out to Orlando down there in Orlando, Florida. You know who you are. Pastor Misani, when's it going to launch? We had to tell them we were still preparing some things. This link will be live starting tonight, right? So you can go on the website, click on the link. You'll see the short video, which we'll present to you just in a moment later on this evening, that's announcing the peace initiative. And then you'll just fill out that form. You will fill out the information. If you're wanting to be interviewed for one of the IPSI ambassadors, fill out the information, and then our team, not this team, another team, will actually do the interviewing and the vetting. I think Olga may be on that team, but there's other people that are part of that team, part of our board, and you'll be vetted. And when we're talking about the vetting, what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, we want to make sure that those that are signing up are not just a good fit for the program, a good fit for what we're doing, but have the time to be able to as well. There's going to be a study. We talk about the study module. There's going to be a day that'll be like a workshop. That'll happen like once a month, a few hours where you'll come together in a virtual setting. Again, our instructors, our leaders in those topics will be some amazing teachers from Israel, from Africa, and the United States. We are partnered proudly with the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs. Shout out there to Dan Diker and Tirsa Sor and those, although of course Dory Gold as well, as we are working with them for this initiative. As a matter of fact, as we're with them, we call it the Peace Promise Initiative. This was something that Dan Diker and I began to kind of talk about together, and combining these efforts in strengthening the Black-Jewish relationship and strengthening the Africa-Israel alliance. So we're looking forward to those things happening. Olga, you have been instrumental, mainly instrumental, in putting the South Africa portion of this tour together. Tell us some of what you were thinking as you were considering both Black Americans and Africans coming to South Africa, and of course we're connected to Zimbabwe as well. What were you thinking as you were putting together the itinerary?
So first of all, South Africa, for those of you who haven't been, you have to. Not only because it's my homeland, but really it is the melting pot of different African cultures. We in South Africa alone have got 11 official languages, which just speaks to how many tribes we have there. But we have our brothers and sisters from North, East, South of Africa who have made South Africa their home. And so the opportunity for particularly our African American brothers and sisters to go to South Africa and get a sense of the African continent, but also because the South African narrative, particularly the apartheid narrative, has been so weaponized, so used by our anti-Israel, I don't want to call them colleagues, but the anti-Israel peeps. It's very important for IPSI to give these IPSI ambassadors a real sense of what happened during the apartheid years, so that it's not just a theoretical, oh, here's a lecture on what apartheid was and what it wasn't and who Nelson Mandela was and this is the struggle, but that they can actually see it, taste it, feel it, see the impact of it. So some of the things that we'll be doing is going to the Apartheid Museum, so people can actually see artifacts from that era as to what happened and how it happened. I mean, one of the first things that they'll do is when they enter into that building, they'll enter the way that Black people were treated, non-whites were treated during their time. Here's an entrance for white people only, here's an entrance for Black people only. We'll also go to some of the townships so people can see where Black people were forced to live based on the color of their skin. Not only Black townships, but Indian townships as well as colored townships. And these are different categories of non-white people that existed during the apartheid era and still exist now. We will have the opportunity to go to Cape Town, South Africa, where people will not only see what happened doing apartheid, but also the new democracy now. So Cape Town is the home of the South African Parliament. They'll be able to see the diversity that we now have in the democracy of different colors of people that can represent ordinary South Africans, which was something that didn't exist before. But we'll also, because it's an island that's very close to Cape Town, get to go to Robben Island, which is where former President Nelson Mandela was incarcerated, together with many other freedom fighters. And there'll be opportunities to mingle and to be with the South African Jewish community that has done a lot of great work for South Africa's not only democracy but in building the South Africa that we have today. They'll have authentic meals with Black people. Daisy, the other organization that I'm involved with, and that is like a sister organization to IPSI. There will be a lot of fellowship and interaction there. So Pastor Dumisani, it's going to be a wonderful, very busy, I think it's 10 days that we're going to be there, but definitely exposure to not only cultures but the truth of the apartheid narrative, who the Jewish people are, Israel's relationship with South Africa then as well as South Africa now. And yeah, it's going to be a great time.
It is amazing. Just thinking about, of course, we've been before as South Africa as our family. I've been there a couple of times. Amazed the times that I've been there. So looking forward to sharing that experience with our IPSI ambassadors. And then Joshua, among many other things in terms of your role, as we just heard a few moments ago in the first segment, Jodavi is the stage name. You know, Joshua is a professional musician, has been all for a long time, right? I'm a musician. He was part of our music school from when he was a little kid. And so he has fused his Israel advocacy and his role with IPSI with what he does artistically. As a matter of fact, you'll be hearing about some of the events that are coming up pretty soon. His latest album is entitled Zion, and he'll be doing events different parts of the country starting this summer. And again, you will hear more about that and everything. So Joshua, when we come back in this next segment, we'll talk a little bit about that, the music portion of it, why that's important for you, and how that connects with the Zionism, with the justice narrative that you actually walk out. So we're going to have another greeting from one of our coalition partners, our good friend, Rabbi Mark Bloom from out there in Temple Beth Abraham in Oakland.
Shalom. I'm Rabbi Mark Bloom from Temple Beth Abraham in Oakland, and I want to congratulate you on signing up for the IBSI Peace Initiative. Really looks like an incredible program. I'm really indebted to Dumisani Washington and the whole Washington family and the IBSI for several years of work together, musically and on Israel issues. It's really comforting to us to know that we have friends out there who care about Israel. I actually hope to be able to meet you on your trip there in June of 2023 because I will be in Israel on sabbatical, and it's just an exciting initiative. So I really hope you sign up, and I'm delighted to be with you all.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Bloom. We've known him for a while. As a matter of fact, the music group THP, the Hebrew Project artists, one of our first performances at a synagogue was at Temple Beth Abraham in Oakland, California. So shout out to you. Thank you so much, Rabbi Bloom. You are part of right now. We thank you so much for being here. The Juneteenth celebration and the Peace Initiative launch of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. PEACE stands for the Plan for Education, Advocacy, and Community Engagement, in which we will recruit a pilot of 20 Black American and African men and women from throughout the country who will go through a study course and then travel to South Africa and Zimbabwe in December. And then in June of 2023, travel to the Holy Land of Israel. And then they will return and be the hub of Black Jewish synergy in their cities across the country. Again, the pilot program is 20. After we've launched the pilot, the plan is for us to do this each time, 2 times a year, but 40 men and women each time when we go and take through this study course and go to Africa and then go to the Holy Land as well. It's going to be amazing. We're excited about it. We know that's a lot involved, but we're looking forward to the challenges and everything, and we believe the time is right for this. Joshua, in the other segment, you had done State of Freedom, which is one of the songs from your latest release. And we're talking about the Peace Initiative. We're talking about the work of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. And it's amazing because when it comes to both African and Black American, this spiritual Zionism, music is an inextricable part. It's there. It's in the songs, and then the songs of Jerusalem, the songs of Zion. So you do a lot of that in a very, you use the word, I'll use it as well, organic way. And I've watched this from you as a young man kind of coming up. The songwriting was never contrived. There was these songs about Zion, songs about Jerusalem, sometimes very, very subtle messages and everything. Mm-hmm. What for you compels you to kind of weave that into your art that you do, as well as the other advocacy?
I think it's something that has happened kind of naturally. There was never a point where I decided that maybe I should start writing about Israel or putting my Zionism in. It's something that I think in 2009 is when I wrote my first song that was about Israel. I didn't really know much about Israel at the time. There was just something that I had experienced a couple of things, and it kind of started stirring some stuff in my heart. And so now when I do it, it has more of a meaning for me, but it's always something that has just been a part of me. And as I've gotten older, now I think the only difference is now I understand a little bit more of what I'm writing, and I think I see the importance of the music aspect, because art and music, can reach people in ways that words can't always do. So in doing lectures and discussions and debates, those things are important because a lot of people like to think and they want to wrestle with things, and it's good to have discussions. But there's something that music does that goes directly to people's hearts, and especially like State of Freedom. Each time I perform that live so far, at least one or two people will come to me and say that they were crying, they're just in tears, because even if they didn't understand all of what the song meant, they felt something there, and it softened their heart. And so I think that's music can be a good primer, I think, to start those conversations. And so the album, I mean, it's just something that kind of came about little by little, and now that it's out, I'm excited to be out there performing it and having those conversations with people.
It has been amazing over the last several years. Joshua is also the music director for what group we call the Hebrew Project Artists, THP, and we performed churches, again, synagogues, and what's amazing to me, the first time THP and Joshua, again, you as the music director, performed in public other than at the synagogue in Oakland was at a Night to Honor Israel, a Kufi Night to Honor Israel in Stockton. And our good friend who has dearly departed, Irving Roth, was the keynote speaker. And that was my first time meeting him face to face. And when the whole night was over and everything, I asked him what you thought. Irving, what do you think about the song? You're hearing Kadosh, you're hearing Shema, and this whole jazz gospel type of thing. And he and Myrna were there together. He said, I loved it. And so we got so much feedback from both the Jewish community, the Christian community. And we saw it so much, as Joshua was saying, so much an integrated part of Zionism. Again, just like IPSI is not a religious organization, it's not a music organization either. But all these things are part of what we do, in that it's such a powerful part of the advocacy, right? Especially if you're talking to Africans and Black Americans, you're talking about music, right? And that's so much a part of, it's funny, as we often say, and it's just true, America's only form of its own original classical music came from the spirituals. It came from the gospels, right? It came from gospel music, and those type rock and roll came out of those roots, right? And so we're talking about this huge contribution culturally that has been made by these people who have brought from Africa, right? And brought these rhythms and these melodies and these harmonies and everything. And so this is just so much a part of it. So if you ask us to extract that or remove that from our Zionism, that's kind of asking us to not be who we are. And so this is an amazing opportunity, I think, to kind of show others as well. So in talking about music, this next segment, our friend and my spiritual son, Randy Sandoli, is an amazing jazz pianist. He has several different groups. One of those is the Randy Sandoli Trio. Shout out to JoJo and Aaron, who are out there in California. But we want you to hear this next song coming up from him.
Hello, everyone. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we're glad and we rejoice in it. My name is Petronella Maramba. I'm an executive director with Higher Life Foundation, a social impact organization founded in 1996 by Mr. Strive and Mrs. Tsitsi Masiwa to invest in human capital to build thriving individuals, communities, and sustainable livelihoods on the African continent. Today, I'd like to say a very big congratulations to the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel for launching the Peace Initiative. I'm very excited about this program, which aims to teach young, influential Black Americans and Africans the history and importance of the Israel-Africa and Black-Jewish relationships. Black Americans and Africans need to learn the importance of their relationship with Israel, as it will help them understand their inherent potential and destiny as designed by God. The Peace Initiative will be a very rich, exciting, and interactive program which will benefit many young people. Congratulations once again to Pastor Dumisani Washington and Pastor Valerie Washington and the IPSI team. I pray for incredible success for the Peace Initiative. God bless you mightily and have a wonderful time.
Thank you, Mama Petronella, and all those at Higher Life Foundation there in Zimbabwe. Higher Life Foundation, Mr. and Mrs. Strive Masiwa. We are so excited about partnering with our Zimbabwean family as we prepare for this Peace Initiative, the launch of the Peace Initiative Plan for Education, Advocacy, and Community Engagement. When our prospective IBSI ambassadors engage in their study and then head to South Africa and Zimbabwe in December, we're so excited that we're going to be able to see Mama Petronella and those who are part of Higher Life Foundation. They will also go to the Gauteng Limba synagogues. Many people don't know that the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel serves as the fiscal sponsor, I believe it's called. Maybe it's another term. For the Gauteng Limba synagogue, it is a Orthodox Limba synagogue there in South Africa, led by our friend Oded Duma. Shout out to you as well. And so for those who are ever interested in wanting to help support that synagogue, you can donate to IBSI, and you can go on our website. On there, you can see the Gauteng Limba synagogue on the donations, and you can actually have as a tax deductible offering to them as well. So we're going to be seeing them as part of our trip that's there. And when we go to South Africa and Zimbabwe, and of course to the Holy Land, June 2023. So make sure that you are clicking on the link, ibsi-now.org. And you yourself, if you are registering, you want to become part of the Peace Initiative, or if you know someone else, you are maybe a pastor or a rabbi or a community leader, we're asking you to forward that link, share it with your constituents, share it with those that you are working with. And if you believe that they should be a part of this program, we would love to have you be a part. So in the midst of everything that IBSI does, Joshua and Olga, you all are both very busy, both within the organization and beyond the organization. Olga, of course, you are the CEO of DAISY in South Africa, which is Defend, Embrace, Invest in, Support Israel. I'm sorry. Again, she, her father, Reverend Mishwe, who's actually one of our coalition partners and part of our advisory board, Reverend Dr. Kenneth Mishwe, who's also a parliament member there in South Africa. Olga, you serve in several different roles with Club Z, national organization, Club Z for teens, and shout out to our friend Masha, who started that here based in this the branch based here in Charlotte. But you also have been speaking and doing this for years, ma'am, as an attorney, as someone who's been in the financial sector there in South Africa, your whole career there, your whole life that's there. You were asked by Hillel Neuer over UN Watch to go with them to Geneva as part of a panel, an amazing panel that discussed this reprehensible UN Council of Inquiry against Israel, this continued pogrom against the Jewish people, against the state of Israel. And your speech, very unique, not that unique because you're a South African. South Africans have spoken out against the apartheid lie against Israel. But you brought some themes to it, and we're going to see a clip in it of it. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go on our YouTube page. It's also on the UN Watch page, and you can see all the speeches are amazing. Yosef Haddad and other ones who spoke on the panel. If you want to see Olga's clip, it's about an 11-minute speech You need to see the whole thing. You came and you brought some themes. Oh, guys, we're going to watch a little bit of a clip of it in a moment here. What were some of the things that were on your heart, knowing that you had an international stage? Yes, ma'am. You were leaving your husband and your kids for a moment and jumping on the plane, not leaving, but jumping on the plane, going all the way to Geneva and going to speaking. So what were some of the things on your heart going there to take that stage as a South African speaking on behalf of South Africa, Israel's relationship?
Well, I think Pastor Dumi sent me three things. The first thing was that UN Watch is doing incredible work, and they have been under Hillel Nuer's leadership for several years, speaking truth to power at the United Nations, being very consistent in calling out not only the anti-Israel bias, but just the hypocrisy of the UN, particularly the United Nations Human Rights Council. So I did not want to do an injustice to what UN Watch has been doing. That was the first source of pressure on me and wanting to make sure that I did well there. The second one was, and you articulated it not only in conversations that we have behind the scenes as family, but in an article recently on our Africa Israel Substack. If you haven't signed up for it, you need to. And that is the fact that we are in a situation where there's no time to play games. You use the words, the house is on fire, as you reflected on an event in the past. And so realizing the fact that the house is on fire, I was like, Olga, you cannot go there and just waste time. There are people who see the opportunity to speak and to speak specifically as an Israel advocate, and it's for the likes and it's for the gram and it's for Facebook. And I was like, the house is on fire. So Olga, when you're there and you've only been given 11 minutes, 10 minutes, but then I went over by 11, or at least by a minute, like the time that's been allocated to you, you cannot waste. Again, because the house is on fire. So what is the message that you need to ensure that you bring across that will be right and that will be effective? And then the other aspect, Pastor Jimmy saying, was the fact that, yes, I will be sitting there as a daughter of Africa, who happens now to be blessed to call the United States home. My nation, my people are implicated in this conversation, whether we like it or not. So how do I do my people justice? Other people have spoken about us. Other people have chosen to use us when they want to use our narrative. And I'll say very humbly on both sides. But how do I then, as somebody who can say, I'm not just talking because I know it theoretically, but I can talk it because I was there, the color of my skin, my people were there, my family experienced it, I experienced various aspects of apartheid, and having been born on the continent and seen various things, traveled across the continent, how could I do justice to that? So I wanted to make sure in my speech that those three areas of, if I could say, pressure, were done justice to.
She did an amazing job. I'm not saying that because she's my daughter-in-law. But she did an amazing job. And so what we shared with you on tonight as part of the celebration of music and announcements and greetings and congratulatory remarks from our coalition partners whom we're so humbled to work with, we also wanted to share with you. You need to see the whole thing, but we're going to take a moment and have you take a look at a small clip of Olga's speech while she was with the UN in Geneva. This was part of the UN Watch's side panel, if you will, if I'm saying that the right way, discussing the UN Council of Inquiry against Israel. Go ahead and check this out.
In 2021, Israel was rightfully awarded observer status at the African Union. Arab leaders have led the protest in denouncing this move. Surprise, surprise. Oh, the hypocrisy that the Palestinian Authority should enjoy observer status, but a country that has done much good for African nations and the African people should be denied this same privilege. When members of the African Union gathered earlier this year to vote whether to retain or remove Israel's observer status, Moussa Faki Mahamat, chairperson of the African Union Commission, noted that 44 of the 55 countries that comprise Africa recognize Israel and have established diplomatic relations with the state. Many African states have opened their markets and economic space to Israeli enterprises and have signed cooperation agreements in fields including, but not limited to, education, defense, security, intelligence, nuclear cooperation, agriculture, technological innovations, health, economy, and finance. It is thus a mystifying situation that this reality is not reflected by African nations at the United Nations. The apartheid lie is instead brandished against the strengthening of ties by African nations with Israel. African nations are expected to, and have indeed made peace and forged close ties with nations that colonized us, that enslaved our people, and that slaughtered us like animals. Israel, who we are told to shun, has committed no such atrocities. As a proud daughter of the African continent, I respectfully ask African leaders, how has lending support for hatred against the Jewish people progressed the needs of the continent? We have propped up the morally and legally corrupt notions that Israel is guilty of apartheid, colonization, and genocide. To what benefit? Africa is now the global eye of terrorism, and slavery is rampant in no less than 5 African countries, some of which have already had a seat and do have a seat on the Human Rights Council. Our support for the Palestinian people should be lent where it will change the status quo, demanding their liberation from Hamas and Palestinian leadership that denies them basic and fundamental human rights. We have for far too long lent our name, lent our history, lent our votes to the centrality of a program that seeks to demonize and isolate the Jewish state, more so than it seeks to improve the lives of the Palestinian people. It is time for Africa to reassume her rightful place as a leader in relations with Israel, just as she did 3,000 years ago by way of Queen Sheba, who visited King Solomon in Jerusalem.
You just saw a clip of Olga's speech there where she was in Geneva. That part there that just like the Queen of Sheba basically befriended Israel. So was Africa given a mantle to stand in solidarity with Israel and the Jewish people and stand for peace even in the region. So Olga, again, it was an amazing moment. I know it was a whirlwind. We still have some debriefing to do. Because I know there's a lot of things that are going on. That was this particular speech in a panel, but there was other panels and other discussions and everything, and some discussions that you had with some of the other African leaders that are there. So I'm looking forward to do that. I would do that right now, but some of those are private discussions that we're going to have. But I'm sure they're going to be a part of our ongoing ethos in terms of the Black Jewish Africa Israel alliance. So thank you for doing that, Olga. In the midst of everything that's going on, I know it was a crazy whirlwind time, and there's gonna be more of those. But we appreciate you doing that and representing Africa and your family and everyone so well. So we're very, very proud of you. This is the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. This is our Juneteenth celebration. I haven't said anything about Juneteenth at all. For those of you who are not aware, Juneteenth has become the traditional celebration among many in the African American community. It was in 1865, 2 years after the original signing of the Emancipation Proclamation by President Abraham Lincoln. And it took that long for the slaves who were still in Texas to actually find out that the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed. Now, there were still some other things happening when it came to the dismantling of the slavery system. But Juneteenth is what it became known as, because in part, not just because it was, people say it's June 19th. Well, they didn't know the exact date. So they said it's around somewhere in the teens of the date. So it became Juneteenth became the term. And it is, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, a second birth in terms of this nation. July the 4th, 1776 is known as the Independence Day of this great nation and this great constitutional republic. But there was unfinished business, because even though that was the independence of the nation, and the founding fathers and those with them fought to the death to defend it, as well as Crispus Attucks, one of the Black Americans who died in the Revolutionary War. Black Americans distinguished in every war since the Revolutionary War in this country. The unfinished business was the enslavement of Black Americans, how their constitutional rights were not afforded. It wasn't until after a very, very horrific war that pitted the North against the South. And during that time, again, President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing certain slaves in certain areas. That's a whole other discussion in terms of history. But it wasn't until a couple of years later when those slaves in Texas had found that they were indeed free according to the law, and it has been a celebration all this time. And so we have chosen this time to both acknowledge freedom which ultimately comes from God, freedom in terms of what happened here in this nation, and also this peace initiative plan for education, advocacy, and community engagement. We're excited to launch this national recruitment, and we're excited to get started later on this fall with the 20 men and women who will be a part of this initiative and you want to be a part of it, Black American and African across this country, you go ahead and click on that link, ibsi-now.org. It will be live as of this celebration tonight, and we're looking forward to engaging with you. This is going to be an amazing, amazing journey. You have heard from some of our coalition partners. We have a couple of more that you're going to hear about real quick. Just a quick shout outs from Rabbi Rosie Heim out there in Cleveland, Ohio. She's part of the Zionist Rabbinic Coalition. I had the honor of being a part of their first annual convention in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago. And our good friend Remy Alona, who's an elder and an attorney within the Igbo community. We're so excited to have their partnership as well. We want to hear from them.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Rosie Heim from Cleveland, Ohio, and I run a program called Celebrating Jewish Life. I recently had the wonderful opportunity to meet Dumasani and Valerie at a conference sponsored by the Zionist Rabbinic Coalition in Washington, D.C. They spoke so highly of the IBSI organization and the important work that the Institute is doing to help bring Black solidarity with Israel to your community and to ours. And now it's my honor to celebrate with you as you launch this peace initiative. What a wonderful way to bring education and advocacy and community engagement that will link Africa and Israel together in its rightful place and in wonderful support of one another. I hope that this celebration of Juneteenth offers you the opportunity to enjoy each other in fellowship and, most importantly, to do the important work that lies ahead for you and for all of us. May you go michael l'chael, from strength to strength, and as we say in our tradition, we say a shehechianu, a prayer that thanks God for the important work that we do when we begin it for the first time. So let me share that prayer with you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who has kept us in life, who has sustained us, and who has brought us to this joyous occasion. Good luck with your project, and may shalom, may peace be what links us together always. Amen.
Hello everyone. For those of you who may not know me, I am Remy Ilona. I want to congratulate IPSI, the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, which was founded by Pastor Dumisani Washington, a staunch supporter of Israel, for the peace initiative which IPSI is engaging with very soon. The Peace Initiative is planned for education, advocacy, and community engagement. A little more about me could be helpful. Besides my work as a lawyer, my very close friends call me the Igbo Josephus because of my 21 books about the connections of the Igbos and the ancient Israelites. This puts me in a very good position to know the work of Dumisani Washington and IPSI. Dumisani and IPSI have stood behind the people of Israel. So this initiative has the blessing of the Igbo people. And we urge you to bless it too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Rosie. Thank you so much, Remy Alona. Your shout outs, your endorsements and everything mean the world to us, and we appreciate it. Again, we're looking forward to a long and productive relationship, both with the Zionist Rabbinic Coalition and as well as the Igbo community. When we did our announcement video for this celebration, those of you who've seen it, you may have noticed that there were two little ones who kept messing up the video. No, my grandsons, Ezra and Judah. Olga, what was funny, I was telling your mother that she was coaching them to say the "we're ready" part, right? Ezra's 3, Judah is 1. He's 15 months now, one and a half now.
almost 18 months.
Yeah, yeah. So they kept telling them, we ready. And so what was funny was that at some point Joshua was trying to say his part, and then Judah grabs the mic and says, we're ready. And I saw the look on Olga's look was priceless for any mom who had that look like, yeah, I'm thinking a bunch of different stuff right now. Yeah, it was just so funny. That when that happened and everything. And so you also see they didn't have them on at the moment, but there are these IBSI t-shirts. Any of the merchandise that you go on ibsi-now.org. Of course, you see it on your screen. And go to the shop, I believe it is. You'll see a lot of different things that are there, the coffee mugs and water bottles and all those things. Of course, those proceeds go to help us do what we do. We've only come this far because of the generosity of our donors, and I just want to shout out to all of them, all the amounts, both the Jewish community, the African American community, all of those who have taken your hard-earned finances and sowed them into this effort. We thank you so much because you have enabled us to come this far and prepare to launch this initiative. But for those of you who are thinking about it, we want you to become a part of it. You can also become a legacy builder, which is a monthly donor of a certain amounts that are there. You go on the website, you click on the donate part of our website, and then you'll see there's different options that are there. You can be a part of what we call the IBSI on Tour. IBSI on Tour is where we are actually going from city to city, actually sharing what we call the Where We Go From Here event. I was just in Washington, D.C. Yesterday, sharing the first part of that. The day before, that was yesterday. The day before, which was Friday, I had the honor of being with Mr. Dean Nelson, who's over the Douglas Leadership Institute for their annual Juneteenth Jubilee. It was an amazing event. The governor of Virginia was there, Glenn Youngkin. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Also some stalwart people, Kay James, who used to be over the Heritage Foundation. She's now working within the governor's cabinet there. And also, I was always wanted to meet Mr. Robert Woodson of the Woodson Center. He's just recently retired, but continues to do amazing work. Part of the civil rights community back in the day, formed his organization to really orchestrate the uplift within Black communities across the nation, education, entrepreneurialism, and everything. Just an amazing man. So I got a quick picture with him. Just wanted to say hello to him. So it was an amazing time there as well. So again, these different, whether they're coalition partners or whether they are people that we will be working with on different levels across the country and doing the work of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. And of course, those of you who are the donors, thank you so much for your gifts. And for those of you who haven't become donors yet, please join us. All gifts are tax deductible. We want you to join us in this effort as we continue to strengthen the Africa-Israel Black Jewish Alliance. I want you to hear from a couple more of our coalition partners.
Dumasani, my friend, this is Alicia Wiesel here with a message of gratitude for you, Joshua, the Washington family, and the extended IBSI family, and all that you are doing to overcome the voices of hatred and lies that seek to sow enmity between the American Jewish community and the African American community, long allies. And we have had to hear all sorts of lies, that we don't share the same values, that we don't share the same goals and outcomes for what we want for our families and for the world. And the stance that you are taking is so courageous. You and these emerging leaders of the IBSI Peace Initiative, I have only gratitude. I want to wish you hatzlacha, success in all that you seek to accomplish. And thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Hey, I'm Justin Stover, and I'm with the Ghana-Israel Civil Diplomacy Alliance. We're an organization that works with Islamic communities in West Africa to bring them closer in relationship to Israel. I would like to say how excited I am about the commencement of the peace initiatives, where you're going to see 100 Africans and African Americans travel to Africa and then to Israel. I think this is something that is so important nowadays, because the relationship between the Black community and the Israeli Jewish community is at its all-time low. And I think this is something that can change it. This is something that can combat what's being thrown out there in the media, because these people are going to come here and they're going to be able to see it from themselves. I would like to say congratulations once again to the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, Dumasani Washington and his entire family, and I hope to see you all soon here in Israel.
From the farthest horizon, I will bring you back to me, O Israel. From the corners of the earth, I will bring you home to me, O Israel. From the farthest horizon, I will bring you back to me, O Israel. From the corners of the earth, I will bring you home to me, O Israel. And a song shall be heard in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. Yes, a song shall be heard in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. It's the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the bride. It's the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the bride. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la. It's the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the bride. It's the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the bride. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. From the farthest horizon, I will bring you back to me, O Israel. From the corners of the earth, I will bring you home to me, O Israel.
From the Farthest Horizon is a song, obviously, that Joshua wrote years ago, and he's done different versions of it. And so just amazing. I love hearing it each time. Again, the music's so much a part of what happens when you're talking about Zionism and African and Black Americans. So, and again, for all of our coalition partners, thank you so much. All of the donors, thank you so much. And we want you to, again, consider, if you're not already a legacy builder, which you can become a legacy builder by a certain amount each month. We want you to do that. We are continuing to build both our coalition in terms of the work that we do on the ground in the U.S. and Africa and in Israel, but also for those who are part of it in their giving, right? We want you to be able to do that with us. All gifts, again, are tax deductible, and it empowers us to be able to do the work. We cannot do it without you. So please consider that as we are launching this peace initiative during this Juneteenth celebration, the plan for education, advocacy, and community engagement. So Olga, again, you spoke there in Geneva. We talked about what that speech meant for you. Joshua, we've talked to you about the music portion of it, all the gifts and talents that you all have, bringing them to the table and making the Institute for Black Solidarity what it is. One of the things I'm looking forward to is that as our peace initiative is unfolded and these what we call the peace ambassadors, the IPSI ambassadors come on, they will eventually become part of staff as well, right? They will be people that we will be preparing to Speakers Bureau. Those will be part of the Africa Israel Weekly, as Olga was saying, those who are writers and contributors to our blog on Substack and everything. This is one of the things that's been very, very important to me. One of you, just say something very quickly about legacy. What does it mean to you that not just you do what you do, especially now that you have children, right? Mm-hmm. What does it mean now that you do it and show it to someone so that they can take ownership of it as well?
I think the biggest thing for me when I think about legacy is that you do whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's like in this case, Israel advocacy, Israel-Africa relationship, Black-Jewish synergy, so that it becomes a normalized thing for your kids. So now here it's not something that's normal, and it should be, but it's not. And there's pushback in different areas, and all those types of things. But I think of it as, we do what we do so that it may not have to be done anymore, so that our kids can do whatever the next step is from that. I think anyway that as an organization, we would have failed if 10 years from now we're doing the same exact thing that we're doing now. I think then we would be in the territory of just raising funds to exist, and yeah, I would like to see by the time Ezra and Judah are grown men, if IPSI's still around. I mean, even in that sense, if IPSI's still needed, it's taken on a new mission, and they're leading that charge. They're not standing up saying, we're here to strengthen the Black. Okay, well, what? I thought that's what we were doing. Like that, they shouldn't be doing that. They should be maintaining it, or taking it a step further. They're overseeing this, this big global, or this economic exchange between Israel and Kenya or something. Like that's what I want to see them doing. Otherwise, it's not so much legacy as it is just them recreating the same thing.
Kind of like the billions of dollars of economic cooperation that happened between Israel and the UAE.
Right.
With the
Right.
Abraham Accords. Now you have peace and prosperity. Olga, speak to that. So you're talking about the Abraham Accords, Israel and the Arab nations, right? And we often joke and say Africa doesn't need a peace accord because it's never been at war with Israel. But speak to that in terms of the prosperity that we see in the midst of the hatred and the anti-Semitism that's rising. Here you have the Arab world making friends with Israel, improving the lives of so many people, all the economic growth and everything. What is that potential where Africa is concerned?
For me, it excites me because the background that Africa has to what you just said now is not from a place of, now we have to like these people, now we actually have to sort out our differences because of war. We're coming from a place of existing relationships and existing brotherhood and friendship and existing efforts on the African continent that have borne fruits for our people. So if what is happening in the Middle East with these Arab countries and how quickly it's happened. It was merely a few years ago that the Trump administration authored these Abraham Accords, and now you are seeing travel to various Arab countries that years ago nobody would have thought possible. So the fact that that can be, first of all, for me, has shown that there was leadership that decided that we wanted to change things for our people. To Joshua's point, IPSI not just existing for the sake of existing. For me, these Arab leaders were like, we want to change our country's destiny, the course of prosperity and what our people can do and achieve. And we recognize that Israel will play an integral part for that. If our African leaders can do the same, God helping them, and us applying the right pressure on them, can say, you know what, for the best interest of our people, we already saw it 3,000 years ago. We saw it in the 1950s and the 1960s that Israel can be and is a good friend to us. There's just so much more that can be done. Also, if I may add this, that Africa really has so much. She is the richest continent in the world. If you're talking minerals, if you're talking human capital, there's just so much that is untapped potential that will almost like if somebody were to light a match, will just literally explode. So for me, it's exciting to see, and hopefully in our lifetime, not even hopefully, Olga, in our lifetime, we will see that happen. And that's why IPSI exists.
One of the things we're excited about with the Peace Initiative, where we're taking Black American and African young men and women, 18 and up, young at heart as well, through this study course and to Africa and to Israel, is because, as we said before, this African connection when it comes to Israel is such a visceral thing. People sometimes will ask me, they wouldn't understand, well, if you're an American-based organization, why are you emphasizing so much the Africa part? I said, well, it's funny. No one asked the anti-Israel people that, right? Yeah. Why do you run to South Africa and use that narrative as a cudgel against Israel? Nobody says, gee, that's South Africa. They should be saying, hey, those things have nothing to do with each other. But what it does, even Israel's enemies underscore the Africa-Israel relationship. And they come to America and they'll disparage Israel fraudulently as an apartheid state. You wouldn't even know what apartheid was had you not known what happened to the Black South Africans. And you can see it even there. If your enemy, if the person who's your detractor focuses on an area, what you can learn from that is that area is probably important. Maybe for the opposite reason. Maybe, again, I remember one of the preachers used to say that when a mugger comes to rob somebody, he doesn't pick somebody who doesn't look like he doesn't have anything. He picks someone who looks like he has something. So if someone's focused on driving a wedge between Israel and Africa, there must be something there. If they're trying to drive a wedge between the Black and Jewish community who's worked together from the time of Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald, or Dr. King and Rabbi Heschel, who did amazing things and changed the world, then there must be something still there in order for Israel's enemies to continue to try to focus negatively on that relationship. And the Peace Initiative, as part of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, seeks to just both rediscover that and then place it right at the forefront. That strength, that alliance between Israel and Africa, the Black and Jewish community, which is why we're saying in the midst of a very, very difficult time, racism rising, anti-Semitism rising, we believe it's a tremendous opportunity for something different to be done. So we want you to hear from a couple more of our coalition partners.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hussein Abu Bakr Mansour. I'm a peace activist. I'm originally from Egypt, from Cairo. I'm currently talking to you from the great city of Abu Dhabi. And I want to congratulate IPSI, the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, on its peace initiative, and all the great work that it's been doing, bringing communities together, educating, building bridges, and building peace and fighting against hate and misinformation. This is an amazing organization that's doing all of the United States and the world a great service in serving our communities, bringing them together in peace and harmony. Thank you, IPSI, and congratulations. Alf Mabruk.
Hello, everybody. My name is Pastor Corey Brooks. I bring you greetings from Project Hood, and I bring you greetings from the rooftop. That's right, where I've been staying in this tent right behind me for well over 190 days, bringing awareness to the violence in Chicago and issues across America. But today, I want to say congratulations to IBSI for all of the work that you're doing. Without your organization and your work with Israel, we would not be as knowledgeable as we are as it concerns the affairs and the state of Israel and Black America. And so I want to say to you, congratulations for the Peace Initiative, launching it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a tremendous blessing to so many people. And I want you to know you have our full support. Whatever we can do to be a blessing to you and the organization, please let us know. God bless you and God keep you. Peace. Shalom.
Thank you so much, Hussein, who's traveling. I believe he's somewhere in one of the Arab countries now doing some amazing work. So thank you so much for that shout out from where you are there, my friend. And also I want to thank our friend, Pastor Corey Brooks, out there in Chicago, South Chicago on O Block. Again, I already mentioned that I will be in Milwaukee this Saturday, June the 25th, which is also my wife's and my 34th wedding anniversary. It's not the first time we celebrate our anniversary in Milwaukee, so much love to our brothers and sisters out there in Milwaukee at World Outreach Church. But we will also, those of you who know the area, you're only about an hour or so away from Chicago. We will also, God say the same, make a little trek over to Chicago, go up to the rooftop with Pastor Corey Brooks, and just give him another shout out. He is raising $36 million to build a new community center right there on Old Block in South Chicago. His ministry, which is New Beginnings Church, as well as Project Hood, is changing lives already, ladies and gentlemen. But my God, if he could get that new center built, the sky's the limit. So we want you, and we use our platform with IPSI. Yes, we want you to donate to us. We need your help. But we also try to bring you the work that people are doing, our coalition partners that we believe are doing amazing work. So give to the Project Hood as well. Go to projecthood.org. If you know pastors, rabbis, leaders, those of you who are business leaders, partner with Pastor Brooks. He's doing amazing work there. So again, shout out to you. Thank you so much, Pastor Corey. And looking forward to seeing you this Sunday or Monday, one of those 2 days where we're going to be out there and hang out with you on the rooftop. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to this part of the program, it's about the end, where we will finally premiere our video, which is our Peace Initiative announcement. The title of it is, Are You Ready to Change the World? We hope you enjoy it and share it. Are you ready to learn what Zionism has meant to Africa and Black Americans for centuries?
Are you ready to learn of the 3,000-year relationship between Israel and Africa?
Or learn about the historic Black-Jewish synergy that transformed the nation and the world?
Are you ready to travel to an African nation and learn of its history?
And see its modern-day connection to Israel?
Are you ready to discover the Holy Land?
The ancient and modern Jewish state of Israel?
And bring all that you've experienced back home to engage your community?
Are you ready to change the world? Become an IPSI ambassador through our Peace Initiative.
Plan for education,
advocacy,
and community engagement.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed that video. We hope you enjoyed your time with us here today. We've enjoyed being with you. Someone's supposed to be in the bed. It's after 9 o'clock at night on the East Coast, but he's here, Mr. Ezra. So we said, since he's up, let's go ahead and have him say goodbye. Did you say hi to everybody?
Say hi.
Hi, everybody.
So we're excited to share the Peace Initiative with you. We are glad and honored that you joined us on today. And even if you're watching this on a tape later on in terms of the recording, we hope that it's been informative to you. We want you, or those that you may know, to be a part of this Peace Initiative. We want you to go through this process with us. Go on the website now that it's live, the video that's there, the form that you fill out and everything. Let's get this process started. We're excited to do the study courses with you. Go to South Africa and Zimbabwe with you, and go to Israel with you. A 9-month journey that I promise you is going to go by so fast, right? So a 9-month journey in which we will engage in that study: Israel, Africa, the United Nations, the Black Jewish Alliance, the ancient Israel, modern state of Israel. We're going to learn so much together, and we're going to, as the video said, we're going to change the world. So Joshua and Olga, thank you so much for all the work that you do. Both with the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel and beyond, music, advocacy, the attorney, all these things that you do in South Africa and on behalf of Israel and Africa and the Black American community. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for all of your support. Again, we want you to join us. All your gifts are tax deductible as well. Those of you who would like to give, you can become monthly donors. You want to host one of our events, which is a Where We Go From Here event. Again, just go on our page. You'll see where we're going to be, or you can contact us at info@ipsi-now.org and get more information about that as well. And we hope you've all had a great Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all you dads out there, and a great Juneteenth celebration. Until next time, you guys be great.